there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to do, but for the better, because it worked out, and I went this way, and everything was fine. So,
and I feel like that moment almost like hardened me a bit, to where I understood that, things are going to get tough, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever. But all you got to do is surround yourself with the right people, put in the effort, and you're going to make it.
Yeah, everything has a shelf life. And you have to know within yourself when your shelf life is over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much are you willing to push this envelope? You know what I mean? A lot of things that I've done that have never been thought twice of. And to me, I'm like, man, we just saved that guy's life, and nobody recognizes it.
Noel, brother,
what's up?
How are you doing? Thank you for coming by the studio today. This is the Next Up podcast, and my friend, you are next up. How's life?
Cool. Not bad. Everything's good.
Yeah. So you want to talk real quick about how we met way back in the day?
Yeah. Just a mutual friend. We got introduced, and I would say immediately we just kind of hit it off with like similar interests and stuff like that.
May have had something to do with CrossFit, just a little bit.
In the beginning, yes.
In the beginning, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but then it was it's kind of a small world, because we met through a mutual friend, and then we found out that we had another mutual friend, DJ.
Right.
Yeah, and DJ's kind of how you and I got here today.
Right.
Because I guess you must have saw him on the podcast a few months ago, and you're like, man, like, I got a story to tell. And I was like, bro, let's go.
For sure.
What are we waiting on?
Yeah.
So do you kind of want to dive into, let's get your backstory.
Yeah. So let's say, going back to DJ real quick. So I've known DJ for like 20 years at least.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of similar friends or mutual friends as well before I met you. And going back to when I knew DJ, I mean, man, that was such a long time ago, but he's always been like a mutual friend of a mutual friend that I would always know. Like, so it didn't really come to like a surprise that, oh, you know DJ too?
Yeah.
Everybody knows DJ.
Everyone knows DJ.
Right. So that was really cool that we had that in common. But anyways, so going back to, let's say, the beginning of my career, I'd say that 2004. I'd say 2003, 2004, I decided to become a police officer.
Yeah.
And I went to the academy here at HCC in Tampa. And that's when I started my law enforcement career. I had no prior experience in law enforcement. I was never in the military, but my dad was. So I grew up in a military household. For 25 years, my family has been traveling all over the world because he was stationed in several different places.
Yeah.
But
was your childhood in Tampa though?
I wouldn't say childhood, but I'd say like teenage years up.
All right.
Childhood was like all over the world pretty much. We did like 2 tours in Turkey, which is like super memorable for me. Still have the same friends from back then that I still talk to today.
That's cool.
Which is like 30 years later, I think, roughly. But early childhood all over the place. Family retired here mid-90s, late 90s.
Yeah.
And have been here in Tampa, St. Pete area ever since.
Okay.
So fast forward to 2004, went to the academy. After the academy, I started with City of Tampa Police as what they call a reserve / auxiliary officer. It's almost like you are a volunteer, so you don't get paid. So you're volunteering your time to, give back to the community and or to see if this is what you really want to do. It's almost like a trial. A lot of people use that platform to see if this is what they want to do.
So was that almost like a part-time gig? Did you have a full-time job? Or?
So I was trying to get on full-time, if this was my only way to get in, I did it. You know what I mean? So because I wanted to do right. I wanted to be I wanted to be a police officer. So at the time, that was the only chance for me to get in. I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get to a goal, man, you do anything for free. So sacrifice a lot of things for it too. So I did that. In the meantime, I was a reserve officer. I volunteered a lot of time. Of course, you don't get paid. The only other perk of that is you are able to work extra duty jobs with another full-time police officer.
Oh, cool.
Working clubs and events that company pays you to be there. So I did that for about 2 years, almost 2 years.
So I got a dumb question for you.
Sure, man. Shoot.
So when you're in the reserves like that, are you carrying like full firearms and everything, or are you not?
Everything's the same.
Okay.
Everything's the same. The only difference at the time was on your patch, it said on the very bottom of the patch, it said reserve.
Gotcha.
But let me ask you this. If you're a bad guy and you see a reserve officer standing there in a if you see two police officers standing there, one has a reserve rocker on the bottom of his patch, the other one has a regular, they don't know.
You can't tell the difference.
You're still
looking at that.
right. So you're still still in
Respected.
well, I was gonna say you're still in harm's way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like bad guys don't determine whether it's a reserve officer that's full. They don't know. They probably don't even care. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But
it's funny, real quick. It's funny that your thought was in harm's way, but then my thought was respected, just because of my view of police officers. Because I respect police officers,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning more towards the latter because
that's a real world scenario
of my past experiences and just real world scenario. Like not everybody likes the police. You know what I mean? So, but with that being said, that was always a point I always try to make is like bad people don't care and don't know the difference between a reserve, full-time, everything's the same. Uniform's the same, gun belt's the same, gun's the same, pistol, magazines, baton, asp, handcuffs, everything's the same.
Yeah.
So that was a good question though. So I mean, it's not a lot of people know or care to know, but that's a really good question. But so after transitioning from the reserve to full-time, I got hired in 2007. That's all she wrote, man. I mean, I've done a lot of things in the past 16 and a half, almost 17 years, but totaling almost 18, 19 years with the city.
Yeah.
To include the reserve time, but I mean, I like to include it because I was there doing the same exact thing.
You were there in harm's way.
just not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
For the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So
what was it that made you want to become a police officer? Was it the fact that your dad was in the military, or
that's a good question too. So growing up in a military household, that's all I knew. You watch a lot of military movies growing up as a kid. Cops and robbers and just dude, Chuck Norris and Arnold and Sylvester Stallone. You know what I mean? All these like commando movies. That's what you want to be when you're a kid.
Real quick, I have a short attention span, and
Me too.
my mind wanders. So
Me too.
When you say Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold, let's throw in Bruce Lee.
I was gonna say Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Who wins in a fight?
Give me the two. Bruce Lee and who?
So let's go Bruce Lee and Arnold.
I mean, that's a good question. Skill. I mean, obviously Bruce Lee takes skill. Arnold. I mean, he's huge. He's a big guy. I mean, in their prime, both in their prime.
Oh yeah.
If Arnold gets a hold of Bruce,
I mean,
that's really tough.
A rough day.
Yeah. I mean, if Bruce has space, and he's able to engage him from different angles and things like that, maybe he might have a chance. But if Arnold gets a hold of him, it's hard to overcome somebody smothering you when they're twice your size.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right. Now, what about Chuck and Sly?
Man, in their prime, once again, I think Chuck is more technical.
Yeah.
And Sylvester is more, action-packed and
brute strength.
Bruce, not to say that Arnold and
Well, I mean,
Sly don't have skill.
Sly has some hands too. He can box, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Chuck has feet too. Legs.
Yeah.
But it's hard to think of them being like in their prime together because they're from different eras. I think. You know what I mean? From the 60s and 70s into the 80s and 90s with Arnold and. Am I correct on that? I mean, that's pretty accurate, right?
70s, 80s, maybe?
70s, 80s.
Something like that.
Or 60s, 70s for Chuck and Bruce, right?
Yeah.
And then 80s, 90s for Arnold. That was their heyday, But no, I'm the same way. I can't. I want to talk about everything at the same time.
Yeah. I can't decide who wins.
But, yeah. Anyway, so don't remember what we were talking about. But,
you're talking about why you became a police officer.
Yes. Yeah. So growing up in a military household, whatever, it's just like kind of like what I knew. It's like, duty and service. My dad was always going to work, and we were always stationed in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Not even just like a different state, But I really, as a kid, I really wanted to be like a Navy SEAL, like a super soldier,
Like David Goggins.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And, as a kid, that's what I wanted to be. I knew a lot about just watching movies and things like that, just and also being in the military household, that was very familiar to me. And I was like, I want to be like a special forces guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Not just, I want to be. So that was my goal as a kid. And then, things change in life. And I ended up having my first and only kid in 2000. My son was born.
Yeah.
And that kind of changed everything.
Yeah.
With you being there and your goals and your dreams and things like that have to kind of take a back seat when, you have your first kid. Yeah. As a young dad.
Oh, dude, I get it. I wanted to become a police officer myself. And I remember I was just starting the paperwork. I don't think it was like a full interview, but I actually met the guy that does all the hiring in the police department.
Sure. Like the human.
It was he was like one of
recruitment.
No, he was. Wow, complete brain fart. Like a sergeant or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways,
was this here in
St. Pete?
Okay.
Yeah. So I went and met him. Quick interview. They show you a video to make sure you can handle what police work looks like,
Sure.
like gruesome stuff, right? Did all that, and I was like, yeah, man, like I got this, because originally I wanted to be in the military special forces, just like yourself.
Yeah.
But my parents wouldn't let me, because at the time I was the only child. They were like, no, I don't think so, son. Go do something else. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. I'm going to be a cop, but I want to be SWAT or I want to be on like
Sure.
a K9 unit, something cool like that. Yeah.
Everybody wants to be that.
So I start the process. I'm probably like 2 or 3 months in, and then my wife gets pregnant. And she's like, I've been thinking about it, and I'm not sure if I want you to be a police officer anymore. And I'm like, I was like, all right, fine. But it all worked out.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you have a wife. It's not just you anymore. Now it's like,
and now kids on the way, right?
Now you're sharing everything.
Yeah.
So that's understandable. So, and things happen for a reason. I've learned that the past, 18, 19 years as well. So there are things that I really wanted to do. I never got a chance to do it, or my chances were shot down, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And instead of crying about it, I mean, you just kind of have to move on. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to do, but for the better, because it worked out, and I went this way, and everything was fine. So, but yeah, that was the main reason, was just like the household and the environment that I grew up in. I wanted to be in that space, that field. Yeah. And also there was like a part of me was like being able to help people that can't help themselves. You know what I mean? It was like is like the mushy part of it. Like like it's not the masculine thing to say. It's like it was inside here. You know what I mean? It was like I knew it. Yeah. I don't gotta say anything about it. This is why I'm doing it. But for me to say it, to me back then I was like, this sounds kind of corny. Like I don't want to be corny. I want to be tough. But that was the deep reason why I wanted to do it. There's a lot of people that can't speak for themselves. They can't act for themselves, and they are 100% victims and being taken advantage of and things like that. And being a police officer, man, you experience both ends of the spectrum. Yeah. You see a lot of this on a daily basis, But yeah, so that was before I became a cop. I was thinking that somebody who can't help themselves, you know, I would be essentially the person that would try to do that. So that was the main reason. But military first was in my mind.
What branch was your father in?
Army.
Okay.
He was in the Army for, I want to say like 25, 26 years, something like that, roughly. But yeah, we were all over the place, man.
Where was the coolest place you were stationed?
I'll tell you right now, it was Turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah,
Why? Why Turkey?
Izmir, Turkey. So, I think it was because, so let me explain this to you. So in Turkey, right, back then there were 3 military bases. Okay. There is, or was, Izmir, Incirlik, and Ankara. Incirlik and Ankara are like legit bases with walls and things like that.
Those are all in Turkey?
It's in Turkey. Okay. And I want to say that they're all Air Force bases. Okay. I want to say. Izmir is unique because there's no base. It's an open city. Like, we lived among Turkish people. We lived in apartments. We went to the grocery store with Turkish people. Like, you're not hanging out with a bunch of Americans. You're in with the locals, with the public. Yeah. So I found that very interesting because I was actually a young kid, either walking to school or being bused into school. And back then in the early 90s, man. Early 90s, there was the height of terrorism was super high. And of course, like, you know, we're an American family that's in a foreign country. We had to, I remember having what they call a sponsor. When your family would go there, like the army would give you a sponsor to show you around, to tell you where to stay away from. Like somebody who's like attached to your family. Hey, Marlon, do me a favor, don't go here after 5 p.m. or whatever. So it's a very bad area or whatever. So we had something like that. And once again, I was like a little kid, you know. So I didn't know any better, but we would have to be bussed in sometimes with like armed guards on the bus.
Wow.
From what I can vaguely remember. Because I remember I walked to school too. And, you know, I'm not easy to spot since I'm like, I'm Filipino, man. You know what I mean? So it's not like, I don't look as a kid like they don't know you're an American right away.
Exactly.
Who know, you know? So I kind of blended in a lot more than other American kids. But as a kid, man, I remember getting chased and ganged up on by like local Turkish kids because they knew that we were Americans. Yeah, man, some people don't want Americans over there, bro. Like, just the way it was. I remember as a kid, I ran away from a lot of jumpings. Like, people try to jump us going to school and stuff like that. But I must have been like, man, 11, 12 years old, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe even younger than that. Who knows? I can't remember. But it was a very unique situation, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a super, super unique. But I'll never forget that because we asked me my favorite city. My favorite city was that. To me, it was the most dangerous, but it was the most fun because I met the best people in the world, like other American kids. We all went the same thing, and our parents are both all in the military, and we've been in school and things like that. And I still talk to most of these guys today, you know. But
I'd imagine in situations like that, depending on your mindset and your outlook and your parents and all that, can make or break you. Like going to a school and having to worry about getting jumped because you're an outsider, because you're not Turkish, whatever. Like that's some scary stuff, right? But you can take it and use it as fuel and become something better because of that experience, like like what you've done.
No, I totally agree. And we constantly got briefings and things like that to you know, be careful of it. And I can't remember per se exactly what was said, but it's like, you know, and the short of it was like, you know, stay in on these days, or you could only go to school like using this route or whatever. Like I remember having to, did I ever take a taxi to school? No, but we took taxis everywhere back then. But I remember just, you know, walking to school and just having to always kind of like watch out where you're going, because dude, you can get kidnapped as a kid, you know, who knows, man? Like you have to really be aware. And I remember, you know, the military, my dad would have to wear or bring his uniform in a bag, and and change at work or whatever, because you can't wear that openly there when, you know, not a lot of people are very receptive to Americans being over there. So it was very just unique, man.
I'd imagine the level of street smarts that you acquired while living there, it's like astronomical through the roof as a kid.
Dude, I think it just changes you. Like I can't pass a test for the life of me, a written test, but I can probably survive in the jungle. You know what I mean? Like some people have common sense and don't have book smarts, and vice versa. And just I think it's the experiences I've had growing up and having to like know which way to go and what happens if I go this way, and how many kids are over there trying to jump me. And you just have to like think fast on your feet.
I feel like street smarts these days is kind of like a lost art for the younger generation.
I mean, I would say just by seeing social media and things like that today, I would say that it's very very different. You know what I mean? It's 100% different. You know, it's entertainment at this point. Yeah, seeing videos and things like that. But you know, growing up, we never had social media and videos, and we never made TikToks and things like that going to school. But now it's like, man, it's just a different world, man. It really is.
The worst thing is too is like young kids that probably shouldn't even be on social media. Like, you know, fights happen all the time in school. And my son was telling me this story when he was in elementary school. A fight breaks out, and there are kids in his like 4th or 5th grade class sharing it on TikTok live. I'm like, what is going on? It's wild.
It's just it's the generation of cameras and social, just like you said, social media and I mean, let's take it back and talk about pagers. You know what I mean? Beepers,
pagers.
Pagers. Like, I mean, that was the coolest thing back then for us. You know what I mean? And that's how we would communicate, and we would have to find a freaking payphone.
Yeah, payphone.
I got a page. I gotta go to you know, and then it's like, you know, to know who this person was, they would have a code. Remember that stuff? Like, for me to know it's Marlon, you know, your code was 11 or whatever, you know? Call me at this number, whatever. It's Marlon. Yeah. It's just genius back then, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
Wild.
Like, yeah.
I remember this came out when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, something like that. My parents would not let me get one. And a pager.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't.
Right.
Now I am.
Right. I probably wasn't able to get one either, but I did it anyway. I was a little bit of a
rebel.
Not a listener, right? Yeah, I just I don't know, man. I see a lot of like the mistakes I made back then. Obviously, wish I could change a lot of them. You know what I mean?
But you learn from them.
But you do, and it changes you. You know, and I'm still lucky to have my mom with me. So, but if she could be on this podcast, I would be. It's just it would be a very funny very funny time. Yeah.
So are your parents are they both from the Philippines?
Yep.
So are you first generation American?
So yes.
Okay.
So my mom is Filipino. So am I. My stepdad is who was in the army.
Okay.
My mom, I guess, I mean, for lack of a better term, like she came over to the States to, I want to say, go to school or something. Yeah. And ended up meeting my stepdad.
Gotcha.
And my my real dad, my biological dad, they had already had their differences. And so I was still in the Philippines up until the age of like 3 or 4, something like that. And I was with family until my mom kind of like sent for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready, I'm established. Yeah. I'm going to go get my son, which is understandable. You know what I mean? She's trying to make a better life, and I don't know any better, whether I'm here or there. Yeah. So she came and got me and stuff, and I was introduced to my stepdad, whom I've known since I was 4 years old. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I've known him for a long time, 42 years. You know what I mean? And he has been, you know, the one to take care of us, care for us, and provide for us all these years. So utmost respect for him. Yeah. Even though he's not my real dad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but my real dad passed away in 2006.
No, I'm sorry.
Thank you. But I was, from my memories with him, not super, super close, but I was close enough to where I can remember the good times. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the good times was like him just being around and getting me toys or whatever, and just kind of like being there. But yeah, throughout the years, there's been, before he passed away, there was like very little communication because he was still in the Philippines trying to send me letters, and sometimes I wouldn't get the letters, and who knows why, man, you know? And my mom really didn't talk about why they deport.
Understand
why. I mean, she doesn't tell me nothing, you know? She's just like very vague about everything growing up.
It would be fun to have your mom on. I was actually talking to my wife yesterday, and I was going through some videos or whatever, some old like interviews I was doing. I found an interview with my grandmother.
Oh, what?
And it was like when I first got started, so it didn't look anything like this, right? And I was like, man, I got to get my grandmother on here one day and do like a real like interview of her, because her story is amazing.
I'm sure.
And I want to share it with her being a nurse and living and going to Germany after the war, and then what she did in the States, and just like the whole like family dynamic and what she's doing now, serving the island of Jamaica. She runs this like giant missions where she's working with some like big dogs.
She's in Jamaica right now?
No, she lives here.
Okay.
Yeah. But she's 92. What? And I want to pick up where she leaves off.
Sure.
So I'm kind of like working on doing that. But yeah, it would be super cool to have like your mom come on here one day. Bring my grandmother. We could just hang out and just tell stories.
Dude, my mom would be so funny. She would just not know how to act. She would just be looking around and poking at it. What is this? Like, I always make fun of my mom. My mom's a gangster, man. She's she has had, or she's been in remission for a lot of years now, but she had breast cancer. I mean, mastectomy, almost a double, you know, and she, you know, chemo, aggressive it's like chemo and aggressive radiation, like together. They did it together because I think at that point like, you have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? So we're trying everything. Yeah. This was like so many years ago, and you know, my mom's this big. You know what I mean? And she still overcame it. So my mom is straight up a gangster. Yeah. My mom's awesome. So I always make fun of her and stuff whenever I talk to her on the phone, and just the way she still thinks I'm like 7 years old. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's just funny, but can't discount mom's cooking. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to go back. My mom lives in St. Pete right now, so I'm always trying to go back and trying to be like, hey, you know, did you cook?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
All right,
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So my family's Jamaican, and there's a comedian that I love, Joe Coy. Like, he's hilarious.
Of course. Yeah,
Filipino guy, like hilarious.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite comedian today.
Yep.
And like hearing him tell the stories about like him and his family, and how it's like a Filipino cultural thing. I'm like, dude, it's just like me and my family being Jamaican.
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Yeah. It's like reminiscent of your family. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the culture is super similar, man. I mean, going back to Joe Coy, like, yeah, my favorite comedian as well.
Yeah.
So I've seen him, you know, me and my friends have seen him, man, the last 3 or 4 years, like consecutively.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen like 4 or 5 of his shows, I want to say.
Yeah.
And like every show is just like funnier than the last,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just like taking you back to you know, your childhood days and the way you grew up and things like that, for sure. For me especially too, because, you know, he sounds like my mom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and also the generation, like in music, the music that he incorporates in his shows. That's my generation.
Yeah.
Dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just like, man, this guy's hilarious, and that's the kind of music I used to listen to as a kid, and I still do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But yeah, for sure.
The best music, the best decade for music, it has to be the 90s. Like
I would say
like 87 to 97, something like that.
I would say the same. When you say 87, give me something in 87. Like you talking about like hip hop or something, or
hip hop. Yeah,
sure.
hip hop, all hip hop. I love the New Jack type of music, like Belle Biv DeVoe.
Okay.
all
Oh
that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same. And I was I was like a lot into R&B back then. You know, man, I can think of like, let's see, Shy, Intro, are the two that stick out in my mind as far as like R&B goes, especially Jodeci. I mean, Jodeci is like
for
top
sure.
for me. You know.
Remember back in the day how you used to be able to order CDs? Like you set up for a subscription, you get a new CD like every month, and you two or three CDs, something
Columbia
like
or
that.
something
Yeah,
like that,
Columbia. Yeah,
Columbia.
My dad. I remember when the Shy CD came in and Intro. I was like, oh, this is my jam right here.
Yeah.
Boys to Men back then too. It was big. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
those are the good old days.
music is timeless. You know what I mean? Especially like as we get older, it seems like the music doesn't get older. You know, but it just brings you back, and I'm very nostalgic. You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons why I like going to Joe Coy concerts, whatever shows, because he incorporates the music in with his comedy, and the comedy just hits home, and it's gut wrenching, dude. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's hilarious. I'd love to meet that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, man. Good times for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you became a police officer. What was the typical day of a police officer like for you?
Good question. So when I first started, I'll never forget the very first like call I ever had was I was in training. The first day in training, you're with a training officer, field training officer, and who knows what's going through their mind to try to mess with you mentally. You know what I mean? Whether they think it's funny, or they are trying to prepare you, or they just don't think anything of you. Who knows what they're thinking? But of course, I'm nervous as hell. It's my first day on the job, you know? And you could only do so many practical things in training, and you can only train for so many things until you get there. It's a real life, and you know, you revert back to your training for sure. You would hope so.
Yeah.
But real life is just very, very different, you know? And my first call was nothing crazy, but it was something I was not prepared for. Was a deceased person.
Oh.
Not a fan of working deceased person calls.
Yeah.
You know, honestly speaking, like it's like sometimes it's like, oh, it doesn't bother me anymore. Like, or I don't care if I do or I don't. I never wanted to do them.
Yeah.
Like if I could pay my squad mate to go take care of it, and I'll owe you one, like I would do that.
Yeah.
But that's just something that you would have to face. You know, I dreaded getting them. I worked them as I got them. Yeah. It's like you have to overcome it's not necessarily like a fear, but it's just like
discomfort.
It is. It's very strange. But I told myself two things. Like, nobody told me this. It's something I learned on my own. Was like, I never looked into like their eyes. You know what I mean? Because you can't let that stuff get to you. Yeah. Discomfort, fear, whatever. You can't bring it home. Yeah. Because that's what messes you up mentally, and doesn't help you to go on properly if you're focused on, man, putting yourself in that situation like, oh man, you know, I saw a dead kid today or a dead older person or whatever. You can't.
Kids got to be tough.
Very tough. And I've had several of those, and you just can't put yourself in that situation. You just have to honestly like keep it moving, man. You have to just do what you got to do, keep it moving. And that was like your therapy on the job. You know what I mean? Like that's how you would have to. Everybody copes different ways.
Yeah.
Mine is like keep on going and don't think about it. Just do your job, make sure it's done right, and press on. You don't have to like it. You know, I didn't like it at all. I up until I retired, I didn't want to get them. Yeah. You know. Still got them, you know, but that was just my one thing I just did not like whatsoever was working at like a deceased person call. You know, it's like part of the job for sure, but when you're a kid, you don't think like, oh, I want to be a police officer so I could work deceased people calls. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like you want to catch bad guys. You know, you want to drive fast, catch bad guys, you know, make arrests, you know. Man, I mean, I can go on, but yeah, that's one of the things I did not enjoy. Honestly speaking, about the job was working those, and a lot of them are, you know, very normal circumstances, but a lot of them can be very gruesome as well. You know, in the way that they have been sitting there for X amount of days or weeks, and the visual could be horrific. The smell could also be very horrific. You know what I mean? Gosh. So you just got to prepare yourself, baby. You can't, you know, you gotta know what you're getting into, basically. And sometimes it's like trial by fire. So my first call was a fairly normal deceased person, an elderly person. So I was still like nervous and things, but I got through it. With another rookie officer, we kind of like put our heads together and like, oh, you do this, I do that, and we work it out. But that's one of the things that sticks out for sure that I just did not care for. You know, anything else, I'll take anything. You know, I'll do anything else. I mean, chase somebody, sure. You know, run after somebody, you know, stand by a post or work a burglary. I mean, theft, domestics, anything. Like, I'll take any of those before that.
So what shift did you typically work?
So, man, I've worked every shift. I've worked every district in Tampa. I've worked every part of Tampa. Day, night, evenings, midnights, overnights, sleepovers, whatever, hurricanes, everything. So I started off working midnight shift, which when you're a brand new officer, you don't have really any say in anything. They pretty much tell you, hey, man, you're assigned over here. And if you get lucky, and if you happen to be a day shift person, if you get lucky and get a day shift spot, good for you. But if you're a day shift person and you get midnights, really can't say much. You know what I mean? It's just what they give you, which is understandable. It's like you're the bottom of the barrel, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
So work.
So I started off working midnights, which was back then a 6 to 6 or 6 to 5:30. Okay. Because we work 11.5-hour shifts. So, started off working midnights, stayed on midnights for a while because I enjoyed it. And when you're younger, you don't really care about sleep too much, I guess. You know. And at night it was you know, mainly where all the fun was, the action. Not too much you know, brass. When I say that, I mean all the higher ups being around you and things like that. So, you know, to make you nervous or whatever, I don't know. Like they're just not there to be around. So you have your supervisor, you have your shift commander at night, and you really can. That's when you really learn how to become a cop. You know, with the proper guidance, with good people. I mean, the midnight shift is, I say, where it's at. But I ended my career on evenings. My body just took better to evening shift, which is like for example, like a 2 p.m. to 1 in the morning. That was my favorite shift.
Gotcha.
You know,
little bit of both. Best of both worlds. It seems
a little bit
like.
of both. Yeah. So my career started when I was in training on that shift. They only had that shift available because their logic was you get to see day shift things and night shift things, which is perfect. And that's very accurate. You know? But as the years went by and I got tenure and stuff like that, I was like, I think that the 2 to 1 is good for me. I can't wake up super early. I'm not a fan of that. And
it's so tough.
It's very tough.
I want to wake up early, but I'm struggling.
I don't want to wake up early. I want to sleep in, but I just wake up early for no reason now. And then working midnight, it's like you're literally going home like a zombie. Like you're seeing the sun come up and it's tough. And that's on a good night. On a bad night, you have court maybe at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. You gotta get there. So you gotta go home and change or whatever. Try to sleep on your couch for a second without taking your uniform off if you don't want to. Or, I mean, I've slept in my car before court, downtown.
Yeah.
In the parking garage, so I can get a couple hours of shut hour, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Because going back home just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I'm getting off work in 20 minutes. I got to be in court in 1 hour. So you got to kill time.
Brutal.
But yeah, that's what you had to do, working
Yeah.
a midnight shift. So, but it was tough. But when you are focused and that's what you have to do, you got nothing else
Yeah.
you got to do it.
You have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any moments where you were like, this is why I became a police officer? Like, this is it.
Once again, I hate that word corny.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what you're saying is corny at all. I'm saying like my response.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound corny, but
Yeah.
yes, I have thought that in my mind, like
Yeah.
this is why we do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I want to say that there's been so many times, instances or calls or whatever in my career that I'm proud to be a police officer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't on a daily basis, but
Yeah.
it's like something special happened this day for this person that I was able to help them
Yeah.
in whichever way.
Yeah.
And, that's why you do it for sure. You definitely don't do it for the money.
Yeah.
You definitely don't do it for the recognition, which we'll segue into this later on.
Oh yeah.
But
I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah. But it's like I said, the calling thing to me sounds a little corny. It's a calling. Like
Yeah.
it is though.
It is a calling.
It
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
because I didn't come from a wealthy family or a background or
Yeah.
anything, like, you know what I mean? Like just normal people who
Mhm.
have jobs and work and have a sense of service, which was my dad, my stepdad, and that's what it was instilled in me,
Yeah.
the self of duty and self of service, and I just think that it's very important to have that,
Yeah.
and yeah, man.
But what was that moment? Tell me the moment.
Or
Or one of them.
But there's so many, Marlon.
Just
Let me
give me
tell
one.
you. I'll give you one. I would say probably about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This one sticks out for sure. There's so many. If I think real hard, I can think a lot more. But this one sticks out specifically because I was working the evening shift
Mm-hmm.
around the area of like West Shore and Kennedy.
Okay.
There's a parking garage.
Okay.
It's across the street from a gas station and a PetSmart. It's attached to the Hyatt Hotel, I think it is.
Okay.
And we get a call that there is a man that is on the, I want to say, 6th or 7th floor of that parking garage.
Mm.
If not all the way to the top, I can't remember. And if he didn't talk to his girlfriend, or if his girlfriend did not show up where he was at, he was going to jump off the parking garage.
Mm.
So it gets better because not only do you have to respond there in a very fast manner,
Mm-hmm.
so you can try to help him as soon as you can, you're processing all these things, what you're going to do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm coming all the way from the east, which is like by downtown Davis Island area,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on Kennedy Boulevard heading west
Mm-hmm.
towards West Shore Mall
Yeah.
from the east. Now the parking garage, the guy was saying, was if I see police lights, I'm going to jump off the bridge, the parking garage.
Yeah.
So we were initially running code with our lights and sirens on so we can get through traffic so we can get to them. So as soon as we heard that, of course, we had to cut it off
Yeah.
because that parking garage you can see all the way down Kennedy, all the way to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it's nighttime, so you can see the red and blue lights. Florida weather is like, for the most part, it's beautiful. It's clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So had to stop that. We had to still respond with speed,
Mm-hmm.
but without those lights now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this is what this guy's saying.
That's dangerous for you guys, though, isn't it?
Very dangerous,
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you have to keep the updates available to you as you're coming on scene. I think me and another officer, we were the first ones there. And as you're arriving on scene, you got to really just put everything into perspective, into your mind. What are you going to do? What are you going to say?
Mm-hmm.
I've never had one like this. Like, I've had people say that they're going to jump off the bridge or the roof or whatever, but like for some reason, I'm not clairvoyant or nothing like that, man. But you do have
Yeah.
like a sixth sense about certain things. Everybody does.
Oh,
You
I
do.
believe
I do.
that. Yeah. Totally.
So for some reason, it's like this seems real to me.
How old was he?
Not that the others were not, but he was I want to say early 20s.
Oh, God.
I want to say early 20s, and I just felt different about this one. I
Mhm.
felt like a lot of people will say certain things, but they will not execute it.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason they're scared or they want attention or whatever. But this guy I knew was not. I just had a feeling that he was not about that. So got there, we parked, me and this other officer and myself, we parked several floors down so we wouldn't alert him to our presence. You know, because who knows if he hears engines roaring up and down, you know, he may say, screw this, and, you know, I told these guys this and that, whatever. So you gotta be smart about your approach. So, you know, we parked all the way down, 2 or 3 levels down, and we walked up real quiet. And as I remember, as I'm coming up the embankment, I'm talking to the other officer, and I'm like, hey, listen, if we get close enough, I'm gonna just grab him. We're not gonna play. We can't. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because he's literally sitting on the ledge, and this is what he said, and this is what I saw when I first approached him, and this is 100% all on body cam. Yeah. You know. So we're walking up. I tell the other officer, this is what we're gonna do. You know, you really can't be like, oh, what do you think about that? No, you just got to make a decision. Yeah. You got to make a sound decision, a smart decision. Yeah. But you have to be on the same page. I can't be like, hey, I'm going to grab him. And you can't be like, oh, I don't think we should. Yeah. You can't be like that. We have to be on the same page. So I told the officer that, and he's like, all right, cool. So as soon as I was a little bit in front of the other officer, as we were coming up, I can see him. He's got like one leg over the ledge. And he's like, don't step any further, or don't take another step. I'm going to jump. And like a lot of people, you can tell they're not going to do anything. You sense it. This kid I knew was going to do something. I knew it. Yeah. So I stopped, and I was like, listen, and I'm sitting here trying to yell at him too. I'm like, because I want him to hear me. Yeah. So long story short, man, like I had a dialogue with him. And he started talking about his girlfriend and things like that, which obviously this kid, he was suffering from mental illness. Yeah. You know? Oh, yeah. So at this point, like, I'm anything at this point. I'll be whoever you want me to be if I can save your life. Yeah. You know, if I'm a dirtbag dude, if I'm whatever, I'll be that. You know, if I'm from here, from this state, I'm from this state. Like, yeah, you have to think about what you say to people that are in, you know, under these conditions, whatever. But so I started dialogue with him. It was good because he could actually hear me when we're talking back and forth. And I was trying to get a little bit closer, man. I want to get, because you can't do anything. Yeah. I can't grab. So I was trying to close the gap. He said a couple more times, and he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I was like, listen, I can't hear you. Can I step closer to you? I asked him. I don't just intrude. Yeah. So I asked him if I could step closer, and the closer I got, the more dialogue and the easier it was for me to hear him. And the other officer he did a great job. He relayed everything that I was doing with this guy. He was relaying everything to the dispatch center, which is relaying to everybody around us, who was also coming on scene. Yeah. So long story short, man, I had him step over, like, do me a favor, you're making me nervous, you know, step over so we can have a more of a conversation, so I can hear you make. I can't talk to you like this, you know, like help me out. Yeah. So he just vented, man. He vented about his girlfriend, and I got on his level and vented the same. Yeah. You know, I said nobody's perfect. Nobody's immune to this stuff, man. I said I have problems too. Like, we all do. We all have issues, and this is not the way to handle it. And long story short, man, he needed help. So once I got close enough and he did step, I was able to get him to step over with his foot. I was able to grab a hold of him, not by super force, but just like, I'm touching him now. Now if he moves, I know he's going to move. I can feel it. Yeah. So, and by then I would, you know, if he was to move abruptly, then I can act. Yeah. And the other officer's right there with me. So anyway, we Baker acted him, but that was recognized. And this doesn't happen all the time, but that was recognized by my sergeant, who was, trust me, you don't see very many sergeants, supervisors, like the one I had. I've had 2 good ones my whole career, and this is one of them. And he recognized it, and he put myself and the other officer up for an award. And I was like, I was appreciative, but you're not thinking like, I'm gonna get an award for this.
You're not doing it for that. Yeah,
you don't even think about that. Yeah, you know, I don't want this guy to jump off the roof or the parking garage. I don't, you know, and you just know in your heart and in your gut, like, this is a real one. Yeah, you can just tell. And I knew that this kid would have probably done it if we did something different, or if he saw the lights down the street. I mean, who knows? Yeah. But he needed help, and ended up Baker acting him. But didn't mean to be long and drawn out for that one, but that's one that sticks out in my mind. And like when I'm writing the report or I'm taking him to, you know, the Grace Point to get some help, you know, of course your blood pressure and your heart is up here, and then it's got to come back down, because that's not how humans operate. We don't operate with 1,000,000 beats per minute. We operate down here. But all this going up and down for a whole career, man, it takes its toll on your body. So you really have to just calm yourself down. So as you're driving to wherever you're driving to, you have to decompress and you have to think about what just happened. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm glad I was able to do something good like this. And proud moment. You don't think about, you know, accolades and whatever, you know, and I've never seen him again. He's never thanked me or whatever, but I don't need that. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I was able to do that. I hope he's well, you know, wherever he's at. I hope he got help and hope he's continuing to get help. But that's just one day, dude. You know what I mean? That's just one day, one call, you know.
Out of how many years?
Since 2007 till about 2.5 months ago. So
a lot of years.
Almost 17.
Yeah.
But almost like 18, 19 total with the reserve time.
Yeah.
Which I always count the reserve time.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Because I was still here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people ask me how long, you know, I always count the reserve time. You know, I'll explain to them if they want to, but So yeah, I could have done longer, but everything has a shelf life. Everything has a shelf life, and you have to know within yourself. When your shelf life is over. You know what I mean? How much are you willing to push this envelope? You know what I mean? In order for you to get to where you want to be, maybe financially. But to me, I would love to be rich, man. But you're not. Once again, we didn't do this for the money. You know, money's great, but I would rather have my life instead.
So being a police officer is obviously a high stress job, just 100%. Like you just said. What were some of the things that you did to decompress, like for fun? Like, how did you fill your cup to build that buffer between like a good day and a bad day? I guess you could say.
So I would say that you 100% have to do something. You can't just go to work and go home and go to sleep and go to work and go home. No, you have to have an outlet because of the things that you do and see and say and hear and all these things. This is not a normal job, man. You know? So personally, I mean, I had the gym as an outlet. I do silly things like I draw sometimes. I'm a pretty, you know, when I was a kid, I used to draw superhero characters and things like that. I didn't draw for a long time after a certain point, but I could always revisit it. You know, I had comics at one point, a lot of comics growing up and read a lot of comics, watched a lot of comic book movies, Marvel movies and everything. And I would say that reading comics, not as an adult, but as a kid, was a really great pastime, hobby for me. Drawing up until now, the gym, like I mentioned a second ago, is one of them. Working out, not really much of a runner, a good runner, but I'm not a good runner. Period. But I would love to be a better runner, and at some point, it's never too late for that. But just training, working out, the comics and drawing helps just keeps your mind busy. And of course, like I'm a movie person. I love movies. So I actually, before, COVID started, whatever, I love going to movies. Seeing movies, going to the theater is like favorite pastime for me. I don't know if that's decompression. I guess it's decompression. You're watching movies, you're hanging out and chilling out. So I would say that. So those 3 or 4 things I think helps. If you woodwork, do it, make things if you can. If you play piano, play piano. I don't know how to play piano. I wish I did, but you definitely have to have an outlet.
I know for me, I mean, my job is nowhere near as stressful as what you dealt with.
It can still be stressful.
It can be, but like I know, my team knows, and my family knows that every day I need to start my day off with the workout. Right?
Good. Yeah.
Good. So for me personally, I wake up every morning, I do my whole Bible verse things, so I spend some time with God. Then I got to hit the gym and work out and build that buffer, because if I don't get those endorphins in the morning, like the rest of my day, like the smallest things can irritate me. So I just need to hit the gym
for sure. No, where do you work out at?
So I started off doing CrossFit, which is one of the things that we connected on back in the day, and then I ended up switching to F45. So
you mentioned that.
So I love CrossFit. Like, I still swear by CrossFit. Like, I was in the best shape of my life ever in my late 20s, early 30s because of CrossFit and doing paleo, right? But when I started the company, I started I guess it was more conscious. I never thought I would get hurt because I never got hurt doing CrossFit, right? Never really thought I would, but I was like, man, like I got this. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a company. People depend on me. Like I'm the breadwinner for the family. I got to make sure I'm healthy all the time. And if there's a chance that I might get hurt doing CrossFit, let me go and find something else that's safer, right?
That's when you went to F45.
That's when I switched to F45. I did that for a bit, but nothing against F45. Like it was great, but it wasn't the level of intensity. And even more, there was no competition like there was at CrossFit. Because like
the sense of competition, you mean?
Sense of competition, right? Because in CrossFit, like you're there with a group of people, with your peers, other athletes, and you're competing. Like you're not there just to work out. Yeah, you're there to win. But then once you're done, you're cheering on your fellow athlete. Right?
Sure.
F45 doesn't quite have that. At least the two that I went to, or I mean, actually, I went to a few across the country, and I didn't quite get that same feeling. But it was great. I did that for probably like 2 or 3 years, and then I got bored. I get bored easy, right?
Me too.
So I got bored at F45, and then I was like, you know what? I'm on the road a lot. I'm trying to stay home. I want to spend more time with the family, right? Going to the gym and coming home, that's like 2+ hours out of my day every day. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to building a home gym. So I built a home gym. I have the full Olympic set, squat rack, all that. I got a concept rower, which I got to get my cardio in. And then I just recently, my wife and I, because neither one of us can run. She has some neck issues that she's dealing with or whatever. Can't run, and she can't lift or anything anymore, which is wild because she looks like she works out every day.
Awesome.
It's good genes. But we got a Peloton. And
I've never tried Peloton actually.
I've been denying, or I put up a wall between me and the Peloton because I thought it was a fad, and people kept on talking about how great it was. I'm like, it's gonna blow over in no time, whatever. Well, my best friend Mike ended up getting one about a month ago, and he was in here talking about it, and I was like,
swears by it.
Yeah, I was like, all right. And plus, I want to compete. It all goes back to competition.
And you can, to my understanding,
with the
you can
Peloton, you can compete.
Right.
So we did a ride yesterday together, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Like I used to love mountain biking, but here in Florida and Tampa, like it's kind of hard to find a mountain to ride on.
Sure.
And Bomboy and Alafai River State Park are pretty fun places to ride.
I think it's all we got though.
It's all we got. Built in a phosphate mine. See, it's flowy, ups and downs, that sort of thing, but it's on a mountain.
Sure.
I was like, you know what? Let me get a road bike and let me start riding that to train for mountain biking. But I never had time to go mountain biking. The road bike wasn't as fun for me because it's just like a flat, straight road most of the time. And I just never got into riding. Now I got this Peloton, and I'm like, all right, this could really be something. And maybe I get myself in shape so when I actually do get a chance to hit a real mountain bike trail, like I can tear it up, right?
Right.
Because, man, the first few rides, even still today, like I get my butt kicked. Like those rides are no joke.
So let me ask you this: I've tried Orange Theory like years ago, and I remember it's like to credit Orange Theory in this aspect is like I remember doing like a workout, then a workout, then like it's a nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Like your heart rate is always like super high. That's why you're burning so many calories.
Yeah.
I think. But when it comes to Orange Theory, have you ever done Orange Theory?
I did Orange Theory the day before I did CrossFit, my very first CrossFit class. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to sign up. But a new CrossFit gym opened up. Let me go check them out first.
For sure.
Then it was game over once I went there.
Do you think that Orange Theory is like on the same level when it comes to like fitness and the things that you do? F45, Orange Theory, which one is closer to CrossFit, do you think?
So this is my personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like CrossFit is like the creme de la creme.
Sure,
right?
I agree with you.
And then you have, and that's more in terms of, I should really go like this instead of like this, but CrossFit is more strength-based, right? But I feel like it's the same intensity level as Orange Theory, which is more cardio-based, because in CrossFit, you have more Olympic lifting, you do some cardio, right? Also, Metcons can be cardio, but less running.
Sure.
Orange Theory, it's like all running, all rowing, with a little bit of dumbbell work or some weights at the end, really light stuff. And then F45 is somewhere right in the middle. Now, for me personally, like there's a certain body type that I want for myself, or a certain body type that I feel like fits me best.
Sure.
And that's more of like that CrossFit look, rather than someone who you see doing Orange Theory, which is more like More like a runner build,
like
right?
lean, like super
more lean.
lean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want that. Like I
Yeah.
want to have some guns, right?
Sure.
So CrossFit was it for me, and then F45 was definitely right in the middle of those two, but not as competitive as either one of them.
CrossFit is, I mean, they're not.
F45 because Orange Theory you're competing. Like they have some like heart rate zone you want to stay in, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have like
there's
the rankings
monitors.
and
Yeah,
all that.
no, you're right.
But F45 they have a heart rate monitor that tracks on TV, but it's not always not the same as like F45. Like I want to go to the gym and I want to destroy you, but then support you.
I've seen the F45 commercials and things. They talk about functional fitness.
Yeah.
CrossFit is functional fitness.
Yeah.
Do you think that F45? I mean, this is more a question. Do you think that they're kind of like biting or taking away from, like, because CrossFit's been here before F45, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think
at least in
F45
the States, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
so I mean, it's like a CrossFit light, I guess. Would you say? You know what I mean? I mean,
That's a
it's like
pretty good
everything that
way.
CrossFit does, but in 45 minutes or whatever, right? Is this? what
Yeah,
the
I would say
thing is?
almost everything.
It's lighter weight,
Lighter
45
weight.
minutes.
They don't have Olympic bars.
Yeah,
And man, I feel like I'm like pooping on F45, but I love it. And Mark Wahlberg, like he's the reason why I joined.
right.
He's,
And
he's the man.
We're just talking about the way the workouts are. We're not
Yeah.
pooping on anybody. I'm just saying.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know, they talk about functional fitness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So F45, are they trying to be? I mean, I've never done F45.
I don't feel like
so
they're
that's why I'm
trying to
asking.
be CrossFit because I feel like F45 is more accessible to the everyday person. I think
You think so?
I think the perception. 'Cause I mean, all right, CrossFitters like we have a certain vibe about us. A bunch of like alpha males and women. That's what people think, right?
Right.
That's a stereotype. It's like a cult, right? Like we're all crazy people, and depending on the gym you go to, it may be like that. But I feel like anybody can walk into an F45 class and feel comfortable. But I don't feel like anybody can walk into a CrossFit box and feel comfortable. Because you got a bunch of dudes walking around with their shirts off, grunting, yelling, weights dropping at some of the places, depending on the gym, And F45 is just, it's more like an Orange Theory in a way.
I think intimidating is a word that we can both agree on.
Yeah.
That, if somebody was to walk into a CrossFit gym, you're right. It's like it can be intimidating, but knowing several owners, specifically, the gym that I used to go to, CrossFit West Chase, namely, you went to with me.
Yeah.
I know the owner there, Aaron.
Yeah.
I mean, he is by far he's not promoting intimidation.
And
You know what I mean?
that's the thing. People think that, but some of these CrossFit gym owners, like they're the coolest, nicest, supportive, loving people you will ever meet.
Right.
Yeah.
But people don't want to step in the door because they're intimidated.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now that I know Aaron very well, and he's the opposite of that. He wants to branch out and let everybody and promote it to everybody.
Yeah.
He's not only accepting elite athletes. Only
Yeah.
if you're not elite and you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't come in. Dude, Aaron wants everybody in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's why I love that gym. I'm just unfortunately I'm just too far away right now.
Yeah.
So plus I built my home gym during COVID,
yeah.
and it's like I invested a lot of money into it. So I got to use it.
Yeah.
But that's my home away from home, and that's my first love is CrossFit West Chase. I'll never forget that gym, and I will go back one day.
Yeah.
But knowing Aaron and the atmosphere that he's trying to promote, intimidation is not not even there.
Oh, yeah.
When you went with me,
Yeah.
you actually kicked my ass in that workout. But
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Not anymore though.
when you went, how did you feel about that?
I felt great. That was actually my second time there.
Was it?
So when I was looking
When
around
did
for
you go the first
CrossFit gyms, it was like a year or two before that. I actually checked them out, and it was great. It was just too far. And then I found CrossFit Manta Ray that was like 10 minutes away from my house, and I went there, and that's what got me started my CrossFit journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but me, I have an addictive personality, man, and CrossFit became my life.
It's fun.
It's so much fun.
It's fun, and like I never grew up Olympic lifting. I
neither.
I never grew up climbing ropes and doing all these pull-ups.
Yeah.
To each his own for sure. People don't like the way that CrossFit athletes do certain movements, namely pull-ups.
Yeah.
They make fun of.
Not a real pull-up.
Yeah, they make fun of. But it's like you have to be. It has to be functional, right? And it's like you are timed in a lot of the workouts.
Yeah, it's a
part of-
sport.
it's
You're
part of it.
competing.
It's a sport, exactly. So this is why like doing the butterfly pull-ups or the kipping pull-ups are, they're faster.
Yeah.
It's just faster than you sitting there doing strict. There is a place for strict for sure.
Yep.
Accessory work and daily workouts for sure. But I mean, I think that when a lot of people don't understand that, I think.
Yeah, they don't.
But
it's the haters hating. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Haters gonna hate.
I mean, I would say just try it if you don't
give
know
it
what
a
it is.
shot.
Like I never talk bad about anybody or anything. Like if I didn't care about bodybuilding, like I should go and try it myself.
Oh, yeah.
Sit there and try to bulk up or whatever. Like I never really got into that because
that's a whole different beast. Like
It's
that's
a whole-
completely different.
yeah, bodybuilding is something totally different too. But I'm just saying, like,
You're creating art with your body essentially.
Right.
Yeah, it's different.
But if I didn't know anything about it and I was like, oh, bodybuilding is lame or whatever, it's like I should go try it and figure it out for myself, But no, for sure, fitness I think is a huge catalyst and decompression. And you were saying that you have to do it in the morning. I agree. I can't do this in the afternoon.
Yeah.
My whole day's already gone by.
Yeah.
Even before I retired, it's like I have no energy at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because like the whole day's already gone.
Yeah.
But so I commend people that actually work out after work. That's cool.
Yeah.
But my ideal time, my peak time, I would say is between like 10:30 and 11:30.
Okay.
It's like my favorite time to work out.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was doing it right, I think for myself, I was getting up at 4 a.m, going to the 5 a.m. CrossFit class, getting my day started, and that was amazing. Right now, gosh, like I want to join that 5 a.m. club again, but it's like just waking up at 6 o'clock is brutal.
So you prefer to wake up early?
I don't want to. I feel like I'm sharper in the morning, like for work. But for me, like I know I need to get in my workout so I can have a good day. I mean, it's not fully dependent on the workout, but better chances of having a better day if I'm fully focused after a workout. But by 8 o'clock, my phone is ringing off the hook, or text messages, emails, or whatever. So like I got to get in my personal time, my time.
You got to do it all before
8 o'clock.
Stuff,
Then everybody else can have me.
Yeah.
But I need to get in my time first.
Good.
So I need to wake up earlier so I can start doing that. But
Do you still have your home gym right now?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a rower, you said?
Yeah, I got the rower, I got the Peloton. I mean, like, I have like the full like cage set up with the pull-up bar, squat rack. I have bench press. I got barbells, dumbbells. I got kettlebells. I got everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about gyms for a second. Like home gyms, I have learned, like during COVID, like starting with a barbell and like just a few plates to equal like maybe 135 pounds during COVID. And it's like it was strange for everybody, but my gym at the time, CrossFit West Chase, let people borrow all this equipment. I don't know if you knew.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like we couldn't go to the gym.
Yeah.
And like Aaron is just such a good owner. Him and Guy, just the great owner. I mean, just the best owners, man.
Yeah.
And obviously they came up with letting people, the members, borrow their equipment. So everybody borrowed everything. There was not one thing left. I'm talking about from plates to rowers to
that's awesome.
Slam balls. I mean collars, barbell. I mean, everything was lent out. We had to give it back, obviously, in a couple months or whatever. But I remember I was able to get a hold of an ab mat, a slam ball, and I had a barbell that Aaron gave me, and then I think Valor. You know
Valor,
yeah. They I think they even helped out too and gave plates.
That's cool.
To all of us, yeah. So I was able to get like a hold of like 245s, and some collars, I think.
Yeah.
But that was like the beginning of my home gym thing there. I was like, this was back in like 2021.
And and there's so much you could do with a bar and 245s. So much you could do.
But that started me on my home fitness journey. You know what I mean? So it's like now I'm proud to say like I know a lot about gym equipment now. I really do. I've been researching this for years.
Yeah.
I stay on Marketplace when it comes to purchasing just the best equipment for the money. And I think that you have not been to my house yet, have you?
No, not yet.
Yeah, you gotta swing by and see my home gym. But my home gym is just I love it, man. I have all three. I have all concept too. I have a bike rower and rower.
Okay.
Bike rower and ski.
Okay. Skier is brutal.
Yep. Got a squat rack just like you. Several barbells, ton of weight, dumbbells. I can't do two things at my house, which is like I can't do wall balls.
Yeah,
I don't have a high enough target, and I can't climb rope.
Yeah.
Or I can't do rings.
Yeah.
I can't do rings anyway, but I can't do rings. But
did you ever have ring muscle ups?
I've done one or two.
Yeah.
My whole I've never been able to get ring muscle ups consecutively.
I remember when I
it was
finally figured out,
like
when
the
it
toughest
finally
thing.
clicked, I was like, I've made it. Like,
Yeah.
mission accomplished.
Yeah.
This is why I'm here,
Yep.
to do at least one ring muscle up,
Yeah.
and I finally got
Yeah.
it.
No, I got
Yeah.
one. I even got two, I think, at one point. But it's
Yeah.
like anything after that, it's like
Yeah.
it's just so hard for me. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
so tough. And I've been doing CrossFit for so many years, you know.
It was, which CrossFit Open was it? Was it like 13.5 or something like that, where they had ring muscle ups? And it was like, how are they putting this super advanced movement in the CrossFit Open? And that was when I figured it out, was training for that.
I know the workout you're talking about. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was in 13 or not, but
Yeah.
I do remember it being like, you know, whatever the workout was, and then like as many ring muscle ups as you can do it in the remaining
Yeah.
time, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, for sure. I mean, I would never give back like, oh, I don't regret doing CrossFit or anything. I'm not like, oh, I wish I never did CrossFit. No, of course not. Like I loved all the movements.
You know what? I sorry to interrupt, but I
Yeah,
have
no,
to
you're
say
good.
this real quick. So CrossFit, I feel like, made me, is one of the reasons why I'm here today. So when I first started CrossFit, there was a workout during the Open, which like, I'm not in shape to do CrossFit. I'm literally like a month in.
Yeah.
And
It's always like that.
it might have been like 11.5 or something like that. But it was burpees, and then the bar facing burpees,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And it was a ladder that you had to, I think you descended from it. And so you started off, no, you climbed, right? So it was like one
What was the other-
burpee,
what was the other
one
movement?
bar for burpee, and then 2 burpees, and then 2 bar for burpees, whatever,
Okay,
right? And then
okay.
3 and 3, 4, 4. I think you had to go to 21,
Okay.
all right? And there was a 30, there might have been a time limit or whatever, but I know I went past 30 minutes. And I remember doing burpees and jumping over the bars back and forth, and like 32 minutes goes by, everybody else is done. And I'm literally like trying to think of a way to get out of this workout.
Yeah.
Like I literally almost faked an injury.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it was. I was miserable. It was the worst time of my life.
Yeah.
But when talking about like the teamwork and camaraderie,
Yeah.
everybody was around me,
Sure.
cheering me on.
And they don't even know you.
They
Yeah.
didn't even know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I couldn't quit as much
Yeah.
as like real talk. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been the first time I really truly quit on something.
Sure. Sure.
But they were there cheering me on, right? And when I finished that workout, I remember lying on the ground like dead.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I was like,
I've been there.
one, this feels amazing.
Yeah.
2, I can do anything.
Yeah.
If I can make it through this workout, or
Sure.
I literally thought I was gonna die,
Sure. Yeah.
I can do anything.
I agree.
And then that is the moment that I fell in love with CrossFit. And I feel like that moment almost like hardened me a bit, to where I understood that, yeah, things are going to get tough, whether it's physically, emotionally,
Sure.
mentally, whatever. But all you got to do is surround yourself with the right people,
Yep.
put in the effort,
Yep.
and you're going to make it.
Yeah. This translates to life. It
Yeah,
really does.
exactly. Yeah, that
You
was a
know,
life lesson.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, not even just what CrossFit talks about, functional movements and stuff like that, like being able to pick up your grandkids or
Yeah.
groceries and things like that. Like that's all everyday stuff that we do normally.
Mm-hmm.
So CrossFit is just a catalyst, and it just helps, which I'm a firm believer of.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, look, it mentally, it strengthened your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
You know, it stopped you from quitting.
Yeah.
You know, and because of all these people that showed you support, they didn't like, oh, look at this guy, he sucks. And
Yeah.
they could have walked away or
Yeah.
put their equipment up and just left.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
They
but
were there clapping, cheering, yelling.
so I think it's 100% like yeah, how do I say it? It's like I believe in the testament of those kind of workouts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the kind of workouts I still do in my gym.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I still do CrossFit type workouts. I don't
Yeah.
just bodybuild like it. I'm not a bodybuilder, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're right. I'm the same way. I think of myself as having a specific body type, and it's not bulky.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be able to run and jump and things like that.
I
still
want to do
at
cool
46
things
years
with my
old,
body.
You know,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And it's like, it just makes sense to me the most that those are the type of workouts that I actually enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, running with sandbags and things like that, kettlebell workouts and dumbbell stuff and pull-ups and just body weight stuff. I love.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still do those kind of workouts still. So
Yeah, I remember when I first built the home gym, I got my weights back and everything. I'm like, oh, I got 135 here in the bar. Let me do some clean and jerks.
Yeah.
Like, no big deal. I got
Yeah.
this still. Man, 135 got real heavy after a few years
Yeah.
of not doing CrossFit.
Sure.
And I was working out at 45 and stuff during that time, but gosh, like being out of it, the Olympic lifting was,
Yeah.
I got challenging.
yeah,
And even like the gymnastics, I remember like as a kid growing up, like seeing gymnasts like, oh, that's weak, right? Like it's so feminine or
Right.
whatever. And then I got into CrossFit and I'm like, all I want to do is handstand walks and
Yeah.
muscle ups
Yeah.
and like all that stuff is super cool. And what I love is that my youngest son, so Jackson, and my daughter Isabella, they're all into gymnastics, right?
Good.
Like, and I am fully on board because those kids, especially my son, man, that dude is a beast. Like,
Is he?
he beat me in a push-up contest.
Did he?
Yeah, over 50. He did like 55 push-ups or something.
No doubt.
Crazy. He can do pull-ups. He's an animal on the bars too. And I'm like, man, I was like, imagine if I had that base as a
kid growing
child,
up,
as
yeah.
a kid growing
Yep.
up. I would have been a freak athlete, like
Sure.
these gymnasts are.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was too busy trying to be like macho or whatever to even consider gymnastics being a good sport to get into.
I agree. And a lot of these top level athletes that do CrossFit were gymnasts.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think one of them specifically was Patrick Vellner. I think was a gymnast, like
Yeah.
a legit gymnast. Like he did gymnastics or
Yeah.
something. You know, among others. But I mean, I've heard that he was. So, but he's top tier, man.
Yeah.
You know, top 3, top 4,
Yeah.
top 5 in the world. You know, but yeah, no, I agree. All that stuff is conducive to like everything you do during the day.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm never chasing 1 rep maxes and things like that
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
I'm doing everything just for my personal maintenance, my body maintenance. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to max out and do all that, but I'm not
I
competing.
don't really care anymore for that.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys, man, I'm 46 years old. You know what I mean? These guys that are top level guys are in their early 20s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
and
there are top level guys in our
Yeah.
age. I get
Yeah.
it, but like,
and
yeah, man.
that's one of the reasons why too I needed to stop myself, because I'm going to compete with that 20-year-old and I expect myself to beat that 20-year-old.
Right.
But I'm 39.
Right. I get it. Yeah.
I'm gonna get myself hurt.
Yeah. So you just have to be proud of what you can do, man.
Exactly.
And when you can do it and how you can do it, how well
Yeah.
you do it. But yeah, I'm not chasing those anymore. I'm just chasing a good workout, good sweat, and
Yeah.
going about my day, and just having the ability to do it whenever I want is having a perk of your home gym. That's just great.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
Step out, you have your coffee, whatever, and
Yeah.
you step out, and there's all your stuff right there. I love my garage.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I love my garage.
Me too.
Man. Yeah.
Well, talk to me about what you're doing now in retirement. First of all, you look way too young to be
Appreciate
retired.
So going back to the shelf life thing I was saying
Yeah.
earlier, everybody has a shelf life.
Yeah.
You know when you're done with what you're doing.
Yeah.
You already know deep
It's
down
good to know
inside.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. And for me, could I have stayed longer? Yes. Was it getting tedious and tiresome and old at work with the same stuff, different day, nothing changes, except for you're just getting older.
Yeah.
And the bad guys are staying within the 16 to 18-year-old range. They're always going to be faster and stronger than you and quicker, and they can jump off balconies and nobody gets hurt, or
Yeah.
they don't get hurt, but you get hurt tripping.
Yeah.
So it's like they always stay within this range, but you keep on getting older.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you right now that I told myself I did not want to be a 50-year-old cop
Yeah.
running around doing the same thing as I was doing when I was in my mid-20s,
Mm-hmm.
early
Yeah.
mid to late 20s, early 30s. You're not the same anymore,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
But I knew that when I started feeling that way, it was time for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
I waited to a certain age. We have 20 years of service or 46 years of age until you can collect your pension. And my age came before my 20 years.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was done. And I love the job, miss and love the people that I worked with all these years. And, I love what it stands for,
Mm-hmm.
but can't do it forever,
Yeah.
and you have to reap the benefits of what you did all these years.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So when I retired, 46 years old, I turned 46 and put my papers in to call it quits. And I had a plan, and, I stuck with it.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing to I've never retired from anything before in my life. You know what I mean? So I've never gotten a pension from anything ever before. It's my first time, first time you, first time me. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's kind of a scary and uncertain realm. Like, am I going to make enough money to survive and all this
Yeah.
other stuff? And like, do I have to do something else? And if I don't, but I was lucky enough to manage my money correctly.
Mm-hmm.
At this point,
Yeah.
trust me, I can stand to make more money and have more money
Yeah,
for
we all
sure.
can. Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't want to, I wanted to have, like I said earlier, my mental,
Mm-hmm.
my physical, I wanted to have that leaving this job.
Yeah.
You know, God forbid I stay because I want to make just a little bit more money.
Yeah.
And then I get hit by a car or something like that, you know, or some bad guy stabs me or shoots me, and all because I wanted to stay another week or so.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No.
You know, no amount of money is worth your mental and your physical state. So, 46 years old, I called it quits and you know, take a little bit of time off to kind of like decompress from what you just did all these years. And like, I know for sure that I don't want to get back into law enforcement as far as like security work or something like that. I do not want to do that anymore. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted to try to be was an entrepreneur. I've never worked for myself. I've never been my own boss. Like, I've never had an idea.
Yeah.
But I'm always thinking of things. Like,
Yeah.
like I think of myself as a kind of like a creative person. I'm pretty creative.
Okay.
I like to think I am.
Yeah.
You know, in my mind, I'm like, has this ever been invented?
Yeah.
You know, what happens if I add to this? Or what happens if I do this? Can I make money off this? Like, you know, just ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm always talking to all my friends, man. And I'm always calling them up and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this idea? Like, if you talk to my friend Eric, like, I call him all the time and I'm like, what do you think about this? And he'll tell me that's dumb.
I got some friends like that. You need people like that.
Right,
in your
right.
life.
Or that, dude, it's already been thought of. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and I love all my friends, you know, because they're all honest and brutal, you know. So, but that's the way I think. I'm always thinking of something new. So, you know, didn't take me long, but I'm like, I want to be an entrepreneur, try to be. So owning my own business, and this is like the start of it, which is this brand right here, which is Unsung.
Yeah.
You know, so my company it's a clothing company, which hopefully branches out into more. But as of right now, I'm starting off with just a couple different designs. This being one of them, and I'd like to get into like the active wear, gym wear, like sweatpants and hoodies and t-shirts and long sleeves and things like that. But basically, you know, unsung is not celebrated. That's the definition of unsung. And I feel like, you know, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, military, you know, it's a calling, like we discussed earlier, and you know, we don't do it to be recognized.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that, you know, a lot of things that I've done that have never been thought twice of. And to me, I'm like, man, we just saved that guy's life and nobody recognizes it.
Yeah.
You know, or if I never would have entered this woman's home, and I'll tell you the story in a second, please remind me, if I never would have entered this woman's home because I had a gut feeling that she was inside, we would have left, she would have died.
Yeah.
You know, we literally saved her life. You know what I mean? So it's like, but nobody, you know, it's, I don't know if it's a paperwork or I don't know if it's a pain in the ass for the supervisors to put you in for a commendation, but I think that, you know, I've never been a supervisor, but if I was, I would think that boosting morale would be the number one thing that I would do, to make it enjoyable for you to come work as best as the situation calls. You know, if I'm sitting here praising my guys for all the good things they do, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but who am I to say that now? I'm just saying in general, like, I think it's a good idea to praise people for the good things that they do. You know, people get bonuses at work, right? Corporate world, whatever. You do good, you sell these things, you get bonuses. That's okay. Congratulations, you sold, you know, 50,000 units or whatever, and here's your bonus. Like, we don't get any of that. Nobody, no police officer, no military. We don't get you know. So
you sitting here talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an idea guy, right?
Yeah.
It gives me the idea of almost like, I don't know whether it's like short form videos or like a documentary, docuseries, something to go along with your brand, honoring all those unsung heroes. Like, I think that could be a cool campaign that you could potentially do.
That's a great idea. I mean, I think that just overall right now it's still in like its infancy. Like, I'm still starting the brand out, and I just think that you know, just, I'm not saying that you should recognize these people, these guys, girls, men and women that do this job and just like do selfless acts on a daily basis that nobody ever says anything to them. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, look at my brand because you need to. No, it's just like I'm the voice. You know what I mean? Like, I think that me coming from this world of doing good things for good people, for the most part, you know, when I say most part, I mean, like, I didn't save everybody's life every single day I went to work, but I mean, like, there are so many people that go on duty, police officers, etc., that do all these things, and once again, just it goes, it's at its wayside or whatever the
Yeah.
saying is. Like
Yeah.
it goes unrecognized or whatever. And I just feel like, if you're a true warrior, which it says here, true
Yeah.
warriors seek no glory. Like
Yeah.
you're not seeking glory. Like I'm going to work today because I want somebody to look at me and I'm
Yeah.
seeking. It's just like, that's what you are.
Yeah.
That's your calling. That's what you are. So that's what this is pretty much all about.
Yeah.
It's like the people that have been doing it for a while or are doing it currently now that do these things that are just unrecognized.
They deserve to be recognized.
They deserve to be recognized, right?
do.
For sure. So once again, like, it's a start.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to do. I've never done
I think it's gonna do great.
anything like this before in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give myself a year and see where it's at, but I have a couple different other logos and
Yeah.
designs I'm coming up with. And I would like to get into the active, active wear, but the t-shirt thing is like, we live in Florida. T-shirts are an everyday
Yeah.
staple. Like,
Yeah.
I try to think of a very normal, very cool design, but just easy to read and just like pops. And I have other ideas, but
Yeah. Well, hey, if I
for
could
now,
ever
this is a good start.
if I could ever do anything to help you
I appreciate
get
that, man.
going, you let me know.
Thank you.
I got
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, man.
got you.
I appreciate it.
So tell me the story real quick that you wanted to mention about the lady in the house.
Perfect. So I want to say this was probably, I want to say last year sometime, right before I left. I was with a rookie officer. He's fairly new, sharp kid, but we were sent to a woman's house to do a welfare check on her. And knocked on the door, no answer. Walked around the house to see if there's any broken windows, any points of entry or exit from any foul play. Talked to the neighbors. They haven't seen her. And I remember vaguely that the call said something about, I think a family member was checking up on her because of like either disturbing messages that she had sent or they have not heard from her for a couple days, something like that. Now, I knock on the door, you don't answer, I can leave. No problem. We did our due diligence. We walked around, we made sure everything was off, but something inside me was like, listen, we gotta do something.
Gut
about
instinct.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta do something. So and this other officer, like I said, he's a sharp kid. He was with me and I told him, I said, listen, man, we gotta go in there. We're going in there. So I want to say that I told my supervisor that we're gonna do like a forced entry. I can't remember if it was forced entry or if the door was unlocked. If the door, I think the door was unlocked. And I think the door was unlocked. And then I told my supervisor, hey, listen, we're going to go in because she could be inside. You never know. And worst case scenario, we clear the house and she's not there. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we move on. But something just, I didn't want to leave yet. You know what I mean? Something is going on here. She's missing. She's not answering the phone. And once again, you can attribute this to like your instincts. So basically, we walked in, we're screaming and yelling, police. So we're identifying ourselves as soon as we walk in the house to make sure that whoever's in there knows that we're there.
Yeah.
And we're identifying ourselves so they don't think that we're bad guys or whatever. So lo and behold, she was on the floor. She had taken a bunch of medication, and she was trying to kill herself.
Yeah.
But she was still able to. She still has some breath in her, and we stood by with her. And I don't believe we did any resuscitation because she was talking.
Yeah.
So it was unnecessary to do that. So we kept talking to her, and she was like, telling us she wanted to kill herself and something about her husband or whatever. And we asked her what she took, and she tried to overdose on I think it was Xanax or whatever. So we called for an ambulance, and I mean, think about it. Who knows when she took those pills? And she was barely talking, barely coherent.
Yeah.
So what if like those couple minutes that we were debating whether to leave or not, what if we left?
Yeah.
So that's once again part of the job.
Yeah.
Nothing said anything foul play about this. It was just like a hunch. It's like your instinct. And officers do it every single day, not just me.
Yeah.
Not just Tampa, not Hillsborough County, Florida Highway Patrol, whoever. Like any police officer has gone through something like this, and they've had that sixth sense, and they've had that hair stand up in the back of their neck or whatever, and they're like, I have to do something about this.
Yeah.
And that's part of the job. So we saved that woman's life.
That's crazy.
We did. Once
That's
again,
awesome.
because if we never would have went inside, she would have died for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to say that one of the Tampa Fire guys was like, "Hey, who called this in?" Because she was like non-coherent inside the ambulance, or she was like coding, and which is like you're dead. You know what I mean? Like she was like in and out of consciousness. Like we would have waited any longer, I have no doubt in my mind that that woman probably would have died.
Wild.
So, you know, something like that is like this new kid that was with me, and that's something that he can take on his whole career.
Yeah.
He did something very good too, because he was with me. We went in there together. We decided we both, you know.
Yeah.
And you got a decision. And I'm glad that he was able to experience that, because now that he can pass that on to, like, you know, when I first started, you know, I did this, and we didn't do anything wrong. Like we checked on her, you know, and we went the extra step to make sure that she wasn't in there, but she was in there dying, you know.
That's
but
wild.
Anyway, so that's a good thing, man. That's a good thing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, man, you've been doing all sorts of great things.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about some of the other great things that you're going to be doing in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
I hear there may be some travels in your future, but we could definitely save that for
next time,
for the next episode, because there will definitely be a next episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But seriously, like, from me, everybody on my team, thank you so much for your service and what you and the other police officers do every day. And you're the man. Thanks for hanging out.
I appreciate it, big dog. Thank you, bro.